Welcome back to Hot Mess Espresso, guys. As always, Hot Mess Espresso is very proudly sponsored by 502 Media. Book talk has been all the rage through TikTok, Instagram, all of that for probably close to the last 2 or 3 years. And I'm a reader. I know a lot of my listeners are avid readers, and we're especially romance readers. And I am very, very, very pleased to have Britton Ashley on the pod today, who is the author of the Rocky's Romance series with 2 books out currently, Covered in You and Casual Sparks. Britton, what is up?
Hello, how are you?
Good. Okay, so how many books are there going to be in the Rocky Romance series?
That's such a great question because the number changes every time I talk to somebody. Um, I keep getting more ideas for more things. So it's centered around some cousins, and every cousin is going to get their story. So there's 5 cousins, but then I kind of have some novellas in mind. So maybe 5, maybe 7, maybe somewhere in there. That's the goal.
Yeah. So what started you wanting to do this series in particular? We talked about it off camera, but I think it's really important to bring it on camera.
Yes, definitely. So I always knew I wanted to write. That was always my dream as a little kid. But the thing that started this series was I suddenly lost my cousin, who just was I was very close to as a kid, and I wasn't able to go be with my family for the funeral, for the passing, for all of that time. I just wasn't able to travel, and so from this place of deep grief and not knowing how to deal with it or having a place to process it, I started writing stories that were kind of like snippets of memories of our time together as a family. And it kind of morphed over time into the story it is now. It did not start off as a romance. It started off as kind of a memoir. The more that I started playing with different characters who were not members of my family, the more it kind of shifted into this. So it does come from kind of a funny place for a romance novel, from a place of grief, so that's why I try to warn people that there are deep themes of grief in this story, but there's also lots of healing and family ties, and of course the romance and kind of coming back to where you were from going out into the world and coming back. So very second chance.
I mean, from what I've read so far, because I had started reading it, and then my grandmother passed, and my brain just went kaputs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I can honestly say from what I have started to read, I'm about 20% of the way in, it's definitely covers. I mean, it starts right off the bat. Like you have your prologue and then bam, and you have to. And I was like, because I had lost my cousin last year, so I was just like, oh shit, this is hitting close to home, and then and now it's like I'm kind of
look at you.
I know. It's so funny how the universe brings things together, but I'm definitely it does cover those grief topics, and I'm actually very much looking forward to kind of diving into the rest of it to kind of probably process and heal for my own sanity, because we don't
make sure when your heart is ready.
I already picked it up a little bit last night and started diving into it. So I'm very I'm all right, the show must go on kind of deal. But so obviously didn't start as a romance kind of deal. Is it a little daunting diving into that, knowing how many wildly successful, spicy, and a lot of them are more dark romance? There's not a lot of I guess there's Mile High and that series that's not dark romance and stuff like that. But was it daunting to kind of dive into the romance after all these authors have blown up and you're just like, I have to compete with who?
Yes. So I try not to think about that whenever I'm sitting down to write, because I know the thing about readers is that when we finish one story we're gonna ready to pick up another one. So I'm like, okay, I know that there's lots of readers. Not every book is for every reader, but there are readers for every book. So my goal is always when I'm writing to write a book that somebody, whenever they open it up, they're going to feel like, oh, I know these people, and these people they know me, they are going to love me, they're going to accept me. And so that's where I try not to think about like, am I ever going to sell as many books as Abby Jimenez? I'm not. I'm just, I'll tell you right now, I'm not. But I can still write with the same kind of heart and the same kind of joy and the same kind of um just enjoyment, and my readers will find my books, then and hopefully I will connect with people, and I'll give them time, a time away, just like this much of a book to enjoy, to be with their family, to reminisce, whatever. But no, it is daunting when I think about it that way, of like, oh my word. And when I see people who have like, when I go to events and authors have like 11 books, and they're like, yes, I've been publishing since last year. And I'm like, you put out 11 books? And like, it's wild. And like, my hat off to you. That's amazing.
Right.
I don't know how they do it. I don't question. But yeah, the way it can be very daunting. But man, the thing I love about the indie author community is, from what I've experienced, I haven't had much of that mean girl, me. I've seen a lot of people encouraging each other, people being like really open. I'm in a group, like a Discord with other Minnesota authors. And just the other day, everybody was like, hey, by the way, this is my old job. So if you have somebody who's doing this, or you need to talk to somebody about that, I would love, hit me up on this. And everybody just starts sharing like their experiences to build each other up. So when you have that kind of a community, that kind of takes that like daunting scariness away.
Yeah. I kind of feel bad for like these authors that have really blown up, like H.D. Carlton, Nevessa Allen blew up with Lights Out, which fantastic book, by the way. I've never laughed so hard in my life. Bryn Weaver, all of these like big authors, Chantel Tessier, all of these huge authors, and like they have to produce the same like level, or they are gonna get completely ripped apart on the internet.
Yeah.
It's almost like nicer to be smaller in a way,
and to kind of ease your way in.
Yeah.
And to kind of build yes, because I can't imagine blowing up right away and then everybody being like thirsty for more, and that pressure. Because even like I didn't have anywhere near that level, but I felt so much pressure putting out my second book. And I can't imagine if the whole world was watching and film rights were on the line. That I'm not built for that kind of stress. That is not like no.
Yeah, no. I couldn't do that. Has your family read any of the books, especially because it was based off of family?
So I've had some cousins who have read, and we're like, oh my God, yes, you absolutely, because they know the things that are family. They were like, oh, you just changed this. You literally just changed this person's name, didn't you?
Yeah.
So that's what my husband is working. He's currently reading the first one. He does audiobooks a lot, and my books aren't on audiobook yet. But I told my mom and dad, so I gave my mom one that had a big star on the spicy chapters, because I was like, this is like a line of like, this is where it starts, so you don't have to read this. Because I grew up very, 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 very religious. And so my mom has relaxed a little bit over the years, but she's still, that's a line I don't think that she'll cross.
Yeah.
And I don't think that she has finished it, which is fine. Because I know it's hard for her too. Just like seeing our family. I really poured what I knew into it. So it's very from the get-go. My grandma's living room. So
yeah. No, I totally get that. Literally my dad tries so hard to be supportive of what I do, but I also grew up very religious, and my dad is like deacon of a church and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, it's totally fine if you just want to like tell me congratulations on like milestones of the podcast and you don't listen to a single like minute of this, because I don't know if I want you listening to half the things I say.
That's exactly. When I was writing something, I was telling my dad, I was like, I don't think you could read this. And he goes, no, you told me specifically not to read it. But if I share something on, like, so he's on Facebook. So I have my Instagram linked to my Facebook. So I don't always know what Facebook, like, I don't really follow that one too much, but I'll get a notification that said, your dad shared this thing, shared yours. And so he's always sharing my stuff. And I'm like, oh, it's so sweet and so kind. And I'm like, you don't know what that was, do you? You don't, it's okay that you don't know what that was. I don't want you to know what that was, but.
Yeah, no, I talk about like a lot of like heavier topics and stuff on here. And, sometimes it'll get a little spicy, but I don't want my dad to hear that. Like,
yeah.
It's like, no, we're good. You can support from afar. I love you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. But plug your ears.
Yeah, literally. My stepmom, my mom, my dad, like, please no. Please no. It's even my siblings. I'm like, no, too close. Too close.
When I make TikToks, and I don't make too many like crazy TikToks, but when I make a TikTok, I'll forget that people like my family and the people that I know follow until they comment. And they're like, "Oh, I miss you," and I'm like, "What do you mean you saw that?" Like I completely forget, completely disconnect. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right."
Yeah, it's definitely weird having like some sort of, I guess, internet notoriety, and then realizing that like you have people in real life that still, like, I have friends that like they're like, yeah, I don't follow you on TikTok. I'm like, thank you.
Thank you. TikTok is for strangers.
Yeah.
This is not for you.
That is my place to go completely unhinged. So my bad. So as a peer, and then just as a fan, like, who are some of your favorite authors in the industry right now?
Well, we are living at such a great time to be a reader. Like,
there's so many.
There are so many amazing authors, and just like there's so much good stuff coming out.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go back to, I love Abby Jimenez. She was a game changer for me when I read Part of Your World. It like unlocked a piece of my brain that I didn't even know was like tied up. And I've had the pleasure of meeting her. And she was so encouraging and such a delight and such a joy. So sweet to me. I love Sierra Simone. She is fantastic as well. Priest also unlocked something in my brain that I didn't know was in there. Especially having grown up super religious, reading that book, I was like, I'm having so many conflicting feelings of what is happening right now. And then I also really enjoy Chelsea Quarto. Is it Quarto? I have only seen it like and I think she just writes some really sweet stuff as well. And then as far as like indie authors, Gia Stevens, I really like her books. She just came out with a like a Christmas story, like it just publishing 2 days ago, that I'm really excited to read. Cozy Dubois writes some great queer. They just finished his like series is complete now, all published out, so that's good to go.
That's exciting.
I know, as soon as you ask me like what I like to read, my brain starts to go blank, and I'm like,
I know,
lying to. I'm like, my stuff behind me, but of course the stuff behind me is not this, like, it's not my Kindle, it's not my
right.
Yeah, but yeah, those are some of my favorites off the top of my head. I should write it. I should have like an ongoing list, because I get that question all the time. Right. I should have something. I should tattoo it on my arm so I remember.
Right. I know, because like I try to think of like authors that I really like, and then I'm like, oh, I know what book it is. I don't know who the author is. Like, I know who the author is, but like if you ask me off the top of my head, I'm like, I don't know. Like the author of the Never After series, I want to say Emily McIntyre.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic.
So I think I have him up there. I think I have Hooked up there. But yeah,
Hooked was amazing. Wretched was amazing. Oh shit, what was the one for Hunchback of Notre Dame? That one was really good.
She just did a Romeo and Juliet one too, right?
No, she did The Little Mermaid. She does the Disney. Oh my god, The Little Mermaid one was phenomenal.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get that one. Who was it that did? Because it's not. Maybe it's Katie Robb, who did the Olympus.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like literally like looking.
I think it might be Kate Robb or Katie Robb or something like that. But they were like, they were intertwined, and they had like Zeus and Hera. Oh my gosh, there was
Dark Olympus. It's Katie Robert.
Okay, yes. Oh my god, I ate those up. with a spoon. Just
Yeah,
so freaking good.
I know. I gotta get into like the more like dark mythology retellings because I love mythology.
Me
That was my
too.
that was my shit in high school. I loved that stuff.
See, and that's the stuff I always thought that I would wind up writing when because I grew up reading a lot of fantasy, a lot of that type of thing. So I always knew I wanted to be a writer. I always thought I was going to be writing something like that or some like very like witchy
Hmm.
fantasy type thing. So whenever I'm sitting here behind me with my romance novels, and I'm like, who, who is that? So my dream is to eventually write some of those as well later down the road. But yeah, that's my jam. I will read, or especially Norse mythology retellings, because those aren't
Mm,
done too often. So good.
yeah. What are some of your genres that you because I feel like everyone just a girl it used to be that a girl was like really smart and this, that, and the third, and like well educated if she read, and now it has turned into, oh, you read what smut? And it's like I read more than smut. Sometimes smut is like the palate cleanser because it's a little mindless, but it's also not, like, especially if there's a good plot. Like again, Navessa Allen and freaking Bryn Weaver with their dark comedies. Like I laughed my ass off
Yeah,
the entire series. It was so funny. But
yes,
like
and there's so much
what
cleverness to it, and I think it's just
I
because
know.
women are reading it that
Yeah.
it's giving the like, oh, well, it must be trash. If women like it, it must be trash. Same thing with pop music. Same, I mean, they thought the Beatles were trash because teenage girls liked it. And oh, who loves and worships the Beatles now? Old boomer men. So, like, I think it's
I
going to be
know.
one.
Well, men don't like smut because it's giving women like actual expectations of like what men are capable of, and I realize that 90% of them are fictional, and like if about 35% of the things that are said in these books are said to me in real life, that's a restraining order.
Oh, yes,
But
absolutely.
because like there is a line between fiction and reality.
Yes.
But like don't break into my house. Like that's how you get shot or the cops called on you, just saying. But the women love these books because yeah, there's some smut in it, and like obviously like we always finish, so like definite plus because that doesn't happen in real life. But unless you're with like with a guy that actually cares, and like when you are their national treasure,
Being with
and
a
you should be
man who
nice to
cares is
them.
going to make sure that you finish. And so, just
Hmm.
like, I think that's just the expectation that, because I have been with men who were like, well, by the time you finish, I'm too tired to finish, so just let me finish. But then he was like, the selfishness, the inherent selfishness that someone, and the entitlement that men feel to sexual gratification,
You
um,
literally.
is in the books. Understand there are lots of things that women do in books that I don't want to do. I've written things that
Yeah.
I personally, I'm
I have finally found things that are actually on my no thank you list
yeah,
because of books. I didn't think there was. I'm like, ooh, now there's like 3 things on there. It's wonderful.
yes, things
But
I had not considered that. Now that I have, I can make an educated decision. But then we also
exactly.
discover things we might want to try, like being nice. You know what I mean? Like there's the patriarchy. So that's why I
I
love,
know.
and that's what I think has made the romance community so strong, and why we have so many romance only bookstores that are open. I think somebody said there's over 200 in the country that are just
We
romance
have one
only.
here now. We
That's
have one here now and I love
fantastic.
it.
We have one. It's actually in a really, so I'm in Rochester, Minnesota, which is a pretty big city. But our romance only bookstore is about 30 minutes outside of town in a small town called Austin. It's Hey Darling Bookstore.
Mhm.
And she has fostered such an amazing community by hosting events that are things women want to do. She held a sleepover, and where they read a book together, and like she like cleared out the store. Everybody brought in like blow up mattresses and blankets and all this. She does these really fun things for women and builds community. And I think that's the best part of romance as a genre that's separate from the books, is the community within it. Is how, because it's mostly women and women cheering each other on, and oh, you like this, you're gonna like this, oh my gosh, this, and that whole yes and excitement. I
Mhm.
think that's what makes it so great.
Yeah, I don't really talk about like where I'm from too much, but
Which is
because
valid.
But because we are on the subject of bookstores and stuff like that, especially romance only, I have to flat out, because I swear to God, we're like twins, because I live in like the Rochester, New York area, and I know it's crazy, but Burn Bright Bookshop just opened a few months ago, and the owner, Shauna, is absolutely a phenomenal human being. I actually had bought Heartless Heathens from her and opened it, and it was like, and we were saying like German, and she literally, I brought it back, we got it in English, and then she went and looked it up, and it was a misprint, because it was a book from like the 1800s that was actually like Dutch or something. It was like a whole thing. But
That's crazy.
I have to give a shout out if you're in like the Western New York area. Burn Bright Bookshop is a absolute must have. Again, Shauna's amazing. I love going in there. She has events. I know she has like book bedazzling events, and she has local authors in there, and they have a book club, and it's so fun to see women coming together and like being able to talk about things that aren't like your mom's 1995 mystery novel, which, don't get me wrong, I love thrillers, I love horror, I love pretty much every genre, except I'm not a huge fan of fantasy, which like
That's fair.
you could not pay me to read ACOTAR.
That's
You can't.
fine.
So many of my friends have tried. I'm like, look, I am reading Rebecca Yarros's series with like Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and that is enough for me to literally like just there's too much to keep track of. I need a whiteboard.
You're right. There's a lot of moving pieces in those books.
But yeah, I like you were saying, I love how women support other women, and even if it is just like smutty books, it's like, we're actually, I think it's really important, because we're talking about sex, which as women we were never really supposed to.
And there was
We're
never
still
really a
not
space
really,
for us to do it either.
like it's I always joke that like we don't kink shame in this house, but it's starting to become like we don't kink shame, because like you can read these books and be like, oh, that is like way too much for me, and I don't think I've seen a single woman go, ew, really, that's so vanilla. We're like,
Yeah,
that's
well,
totally fine, like blah 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 blah, like, do you like some smut, like do you like some of this, and we're just starting to talk more about like what we like. I know I'm seeing way too many screenshots on some of these Facebook pages of like conversations. It's opening the conversation with like their partners on what they like, what they want to try. Like, I'm seeing communication open up on so many levels when it comes to sex. And since sex is such a huge, important part of relationships,
yes.
I really think romance books are actually like less like mindless, whatever, and really like opening up for these conversations that we should be having.
Absolutely. And you talk about growing up really religious. We really didn't have a space to have these conversations. All we ever heard about growing up was don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex till you're married. And then when you're
and then
married,
have it all the time.
yes. And then when you're married, whenever your husband wants it, that's it. And it's cut and dry. It's man and woman, and it's missionary. And there's nothing wrong with that sex. But the acknowledgement that there is a whole big broader opportunity. And even when you get married and you're in the church, the conversation about sex is still so hush hush. Because you, I don't know why. Because I waited, like, I did what you wanted me to do. Now I'm married. Can we not talk about sex now? No, we can't. But I think also the whole concept of sex and relationships and even solo sex and these type of things are opportunities for women to have conversations outside of motherhood, outside of having children, outside of having your job. You don't have to. There hasn't been like an open space for everyone to just come together. There's always been, we have to categorize women into these things, and you're welcome into the club to talk to these things now that you've hit these milestones. And as our society as a whole says, fuck these milestones, I'm gonna live my life. Romance as a genre in general is like, hey, come on in, though. There's a lots to talk about. There's lots. It opens up community in such a broader way.
It really does. And I really love how we're taking the taboo, like, label off of it.
Oh yeah.
Like, it just needs to, even on the, like, lighter, more lighthearted romance, like, more the genre that you write. Because, like, I mean, some of those books do get a little excessive, but also half of, I don't know. But it's nice to see, like, the ones where it's just, like, I guess, more attainable,
Mm-hmm.
like, everyday kind of, like, encounters. Like,
Those little things. And I used to, for a long time, I wouldn't watch romance movies or read romance novels because I didn't want to have an unrealistic expectation and then be mad at my spouse. And the person I was married to at the time was a POS. So of course I had to keep my expectations on the floor because otherwise it would have broken my heart to realize. And when I did realize, it did suck. And that was a huge part of why we wound up getting divorced. The person I'm married to now, I love forehead kisses, and he gives me forehead kisses every single day. I don't even have to ask for it. Just like that type of thing is not. And so I write that into those little things. And if you never thought, like, you didn't realize you wanted forehead kisses, then you can ask. Just even something as small as these little signs of affection. I'm like, oh, I never realized, especially talking to people who didn't grow up in affectionate households, who don't. Just those little bits of, cuddling on the couch does sound nice. Maybe we can just cuddle up. Just those little things.
Yeah.
You just never know what's going to resonate with somebody.
Yeah, you never know. Like, I would read these books back when I was married, and I'd be like, there's no way. There's no way. Because, like, my ex-husband is, like I've said a million times, a pretty decent human being. He's a good friend. He checked off none of the boxes. Absolutely none. And the guy that I'm dating now is like, we were literally laying on the couch watching Love is Blind, and he actually got me into it, which is unexpected because most people are like, ugh, you're making your man watch that. And it's like, actually, he watched it, and now I'm watching it, and I'm slightly horrified at this season, but we're only halfway through, so I'm hoping it gets better. And, I was kind of like laid on the couch, but like laying on his chest, and I just happened to like look up at him and bam, forehead kiss. And normally I'd be like, ugh, that's so gross. And I'm literally just like more place. Like, I have turned into this just like sappy, sweet thing. I don't know what happened to me. It's strange, but it's just like you're reading these books and you're like, oh, maybe some of this stuff is attainable. Like, again, some of the stuff, depending on what you're reading, he's not going to be a billionaire, and he's not going to take out half the town to find you kind of deal, because that doesn't actually happen most of the time.
Don't need that to happen. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no. I don't need hands on my front porch because somebody, like, it's the thought that counts.
Yeah. Yes,
the thought's nice.
If I wanted it, you would find a way to make it happen. Maybe.
However, if you could just not, and this could be just like a cutesy little, like, you would, that'd be wonderful.
That's it. Yeah, when you're with, and I think so. I'm also a substitute teacher, and so sometimes when I'm in classrooms, I see what kids are reading. And
God.
I had to take haunting. Normally I don't intervene, but this 7th grade girl had just begun haunting Adeline.
No.
And I said, baby, where did you get this? Who gave this to you? And she got it from the library. Because you can self-checkout, whatever. And her parents had no idea. And I said, okay, I'm a substitute for this class. So you are not in trouble. However, you cannot read this book.
I'm going to need you to be another like 5 to 10 years older before you even look at this cover again.
Yes. When I've seen seniors in like There was like 6 seniors back in the corner, and they all had it. But like I said, how old are you guys? And they all but one of them were 18. One was about to turn 18, and I'm like, okay, if you have questions about this, you can talk to me. I will.
Right.
Let's be some. I'm not going to take it away from you guys, but I am going to take it away from a 7th grader. But for the most, not if they have like icebreaker, because I know having the cartoon covers really threw a lot of people off.
I
And like,
know.
I'm part of the problem. I have cartoon covers. It's
I
me.
know. Like, they're so cute. And then someone's like, oh, yeah, it's this. And it's got the dirtiest smut you've ever read in here. And I'm like,
Yep.
this looks,
Icebreaker, Wildfire, Daydream.
I would literally look past it at this because I look at the covers and I'm like, ugh, Hallmark.
Yeah. No,
Like, you're bamboozling people, Britton.
I know. That's what I did a panel at Book D'Eau Claire, and this person came back after the thing and they said, okay, so I walked past your stuff yesterday and I didn't even stop because I saw the covers and thought, oh, that's not for me. But after hearing you talk about it, yeah, now I want to read it. And I'm like, yeah, no, I totally get that, because they do, especially when they're like, especially this one, because it's all like girly pop and like all the pretty colors and all the stuff. I'll have like pink colored edges. And it looks like, oh yeah, this is just like, and then I'm like, murder. There's murder and grief and trauma. Ha ha ha.
I love it. But sometimes we have to put the coping skills that are really awful and messy and sad in a cute little pink cardboard bow.
Yes, because the two are not exclusionary. And I know there are people who write, they write romance or they write whatever to escape from the horrors of our modern reality and our modern life.
Mm-hmm.
And to some degree, I respect that completely. To some degree, I'd like to do that, but every time I try, it just feels really disingenuous to not like acknowledge the realities of life of people that I know especially in modern America. I'm writing about COVID in the book I'm working on right now. There are 2 nurses. And so I felt like I haven't seen a lot of people bring up COVID in books that are coming out recently. And I understand we all want to forget it. That was a really hard time. It was a lot of trauma, but to pretend like that didn't happen feels like a lie.
Yeah.
And that just, to me, if that's not how somebody else wants to write their book, that is fine. But I'm having these conversations between these 2 nurses about their experience and talking to nurses to get the input and trying to make sure that I'm being realistic and being honest without being like trauma porny, and trying to find that balance. Because every time I try to skip over that period in their nursing, it just doesn't fit, because I know I know what they were doing, know where they were. And my editor might wind up taking it out. We'll see how it goes. She always has the final say in things, but it just does, to me, those type of things don't feel like we can skip over and pretend like they don't happen, because domestic violence happens. And sometimes we don't get a cool like vigilante story. Sometimes me and my mom and my brother moved away in the middle of the night, and we still live in fear that he's going to show up every day, but we have to keep moving on with our life. And that's kind of the story of Dolly in Casual Sparks. Not to give too many things away. But yeah,
that's a good warning for me, because that is like the one I found that's the one thing that makes me have to like slowly get through a book, because like I can read god awful themes without batting an eye. I read Shallow River by H.G. Carlton, and that one had heavy. It had a vigilante kind of story at the end, but like that had heavy domestic violence themes. And it was the only book to this day that I had to sit there and close the cover, take a deep breath, and then open it back up, because it was so well written that I was like right back in that.
Yeah.
Which like helps kind of like work through some of it. But it was like that one thing that I was like, ooh, no. because I was always like, okay, like there's a bajillion triggers for a book, and like people are, kind of lighthearted and like, oh, the menu. And while that's like fun and games, like there are some triggers that literally people are like, I don't know. I literally, anybody that I know has a DV pass, I'm like, her books are great, but like maybe skip that one, or like be in a really good headspace before you start it,
Yeah,
because if you're not, it's gonna be rough.
yeah, no, I completely know what you're talking about. It just because that's why whenever I go to write my trigger list, like with Covered in You, I put in that there is like there's medication, there's discussion of chronic illnesses, there's discussion of hospitalization and being hospitalized. And whenever somebody was saying somebody said that was too much. Those were too many things. I said, unless you've been through it, unless you wake up having nightmares of being in the hospital and not having answer, like until you've been there.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm good with it where I can read it, no problem. But like, medical PTSD is a thing.
it is. And it may have been overkill to put all of those things on my trope list, but if you've gone through that, I don't want you to suddenly be surprised and say, oh my gosh, because she does, like, spoiler, she does wind up spending she's got Ehlers-Danlos. She's gonna be in the hospital periodically. That's just part and parcel. And
Yep.
if you don't know that, or if it's been kind of suppressed, or it's been a while, and I don't want you to be surprised. I want you to have a good time. I do not want to hurt your feelings any more than I'm going to with the plot. Like, if I'm going to hurt your
Right.
feelings, I want to do it intentionally, not by surprise.
Exactly. Besides, most of us hate surprises. So
Yes, yeah,
it's not spoiling the book. It's, hey, this is like something that you're gonna have to read, and you got to figure out if you can deal with it or not.
exactly. That's what I had a friend who, right after I published the book, she experienced pregnancy loss, and I said, hey, babes, don't read this right now. Just because it's not a huge plot point, but it's something that if you have just gone through it, it is going to be the only thing you can see. So don't read it.
Exactly. And I know there's such a fine line between, like, because I know we kind of live in a society where everything can get you canceled, and everything, needs to be listed as a, like, trigger warning. And I know that a lot of people are sick and tired of it, and it's exhausting, like, as creators and as authors and stuff like that, to try and think of everything. And it's like, I think we just also kind of need to give ourselves a little grace that, like, we're not going to catch literally everything that's going to trigger somebody in a book. And like, people are responsible for their own triggers, but if you know that like something might cause a reaction, it's okay to put it in there.
Yeah.
You're not going to think of everything, but yeah, medical PTSD, especially when we are at the height of not only chronic illness diagnoses, but like chronic illnesses, period, because of the severe stress we're all under, and the things that are in our food and our water and the chemicals in the air that are causing 90% of this, not Tylenol.
Yes.
It's affecting people, and it's affecting them heavily.
Yeah.
And it's okay to put it in your book. Hey, this shit, we're representing it. Like, I want people to feel seen, but they're also going to feel a couple of other things other than seen at the moment. So I'm just giving you a heads up.
Yes. And in Casual Sparks too, both of the main characters are bipolar. And so some of the feedback I got was that they seemed very childish, and the miscommunication, and they like needed to just talk. And I was like, have you met a bipolar person?
Yeah,
like,
literally.
Not to be rude, but like, because I'm bipolar. And I talked to my bipolar friends, and I obviously everybody's experience is going to be different, but as a bipolar person, when I'm mad at you, I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to stew. Part of it too is because I'm a Cancer, but I'm going to sit here and I'm going to stew, and I'm going to chew on it, and then I'm going to kind of like have a meltdown, and then we'll come back together. And this is kind of my process, and that's my experience as a bipolar person. If that's not your experience as a bipolar person, that's fine. But when I write these characters who have these real things, I'm writing from what I know. And so when people are like, that wasn't a very realistic representation. I'm like,
it's fine. So
that was my. And as I've talked to lots of authors when people are like, oh, I really hated that character, this particular trait about them, and they're like, oh, that was a bit of myself that I put into the character. Thanks for telling me you hate me. And that's kind of the game of being an
Yeah,
author. Is like, you've
it's
got to have
so
thick
hard.
skin because you're not going to please everybody. But that's my goal, is always to make my characters real, to like, from drawing from my real experience. I'm writing a character right now who is non-binary, and they don't know it yet, but they are autistic. And so trying to write, and that's a journey I personally have had. And I swear, autism and ADHD are like a mid-level marketing scheme, because once one person gets diagnosed, then you're able to spot it in other people.
I'm not autistic, but like I have ADHD, and I, am friends with autistic people and have been in relationships with autistic people, or people with autism, or however
However
it
we say,
changes every week how the fuck we're supposed to say it. And I'm like, whatever. I'm not trying to offend people. But like, yeah, you can clock that from like a mile out. But that also, when you're like mentally ill and you've done the work and you've done the therapy and stuff, now you can kind of like slightly armchair diagnose people from a mile away, and it's really annoying, because it's like, what, I would like to be less self-aware, thank you.
Yes, if only my mental illness could just turn its volume down, so that I can just not try to connect with. But yes, that's absolutely. And so that's writing, and everyone's experience with ADHD and autism is slightly different. That's why it's so hard, to get a diagnosis sometimes. And that's part of why JJ has not been diagnosed, is because getting a diagnosis is difficult and can be overwhelming and scary. And so it's gonna be, but I just know, and I've already prepared myself, that I'm going to get some feedback about JJ as an autistic person that people are not going to love, and that's fine. But I'm always trying to write from what I know and what I've experienced.
Well, and I think people need to realize that, like, autism in particular, it's a spectrum.
Yes, it's a whole broad spectrum. And I've even just seen some research that says ADHD and autism might be on the same, like,
it's the neurodivergent spectrum.
Yes.
I like affectionately, and I say this with the like least amount of whatever, but like I call my ADHD autism sometimes. Because like I know I'm a fucking weirdo. I know that there are just some things that I do that I'm like, are we sure I'm not autistic? But like, I know I've taken the RAD test like 4 different times, and it's never even come close. I am heavy on the ADHD, but I'm not even like cuspy on the TISM scale.
Interesting.
And I know, I'm over here like, are we sure I'm not? Are we sure? But like,
so
at
that's
the same
exactly
time,
how
like,
my
what's a
editor, my friend
diagnosis
Elizabeth,
gonna
is
do?
the same way. And like everyone around her is autistic, and like we took it together. My number gets higher every time I take it. I don't know why.
Maybe because you're more comfortable with it. Like I feel like as you're more comfortable,
part of it. But her number keeps going down. I'm like, okay, that's totally like, you don't have. It's okay to not be. It's okay to not. It's okay to have your quirks. But it's so funny, because that's what I knew that I had ADHD first, and then as I started looking back through my life through the lens of what if that was autism? What if that was that? And it all started to track. And then I started looking at my dad, and I was like, that is an undiagnosed autistic man. And everything about my relationship with him made sense. All the pieces fell into place. I was like, that's the piece we needed.
Yeah. And it's genetic. So like once you realize that you start looking at everyone and you're like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It wasn't that you're a picky eater.
Yes.
And that the zucchini just tastes too fleshy. It's
yes, and that's literally, so then I'm turning and I look at my kids and I'm like, okay, I see you. I can parent you differently now that I have this information. And it literally, like, it changed when you have that. It's either you put that filter on so that you can see things differently, or you take that screen off, however you want to view it.
Yeah.
It's like, whole world changer.
My shit is definitely ADHD with like massive sensory issues. I didn't realize that like a lot of the same repetitive noise will literally make me want to claw my face off. It was kind of hilarious because like my ex-husband's stims sent me into overstim. He would need to stim so that he wasn't getting overstimulated. Meanwhile, it was the circle of fuck this, because that was driving me nuts, because he would always like shake his leg and he'd do it in the car, so the whole car would shake, and I'd be like, can you stop?
Yeah.
Because it would drive me nuts. Or like the same noise, like sometimes my nephew will do the same noise over and over and over again, and I'm like, I will visibly be like shoulders into ears, like like just and you know, or like there's too much going on, I haven't had enough alone time, like that's really like a big one, and then I get real snappy, and I'm like, okay, I have sensory issues. So like when my sister will bring out like just like sensory whatever, it's, you can tell who's on the spectrum, because all of a sudden all of us adults have like these little like squeegee toys when we're playing cards, and we're just like, because we have something to do with our hands. And I'm like, did you buy these for the kids or for the adults? Because
So I will never forget the first time I felt like I played with a fidget. I was 30, maybe 31. It was at I was at a friend's house, a bunch of couples around, and one of the people was she's a teacher, and she just had some in her pocket because like she did come straight from school, and so people were passing around messing with it, and it was just like something that just like clicked back and forth, and the dopamine hit my brain so fast, I started crying and I couldn't control it, and it was like, but it was just like the release that clicking gave me. It was undeniable, and everybody at the table was like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, I don't know. I
think so.
I think there's something broken with me. And that was
there's that and food. Like I cannot do fleshy like squash, zucchini. I can
cucumbers.
do cucumbers are like okay, because I think they're mostly crunchy and the fleshy part's like a little bit smaller than a zucchini. But like I can do tomato sauce, but if there's like warm chunky tomatoes in something, I'm like, absolutely not. Like I can't do like chunky, like I don't do steamed vegetables. They have to be roasted, they have to be a little crunchy. I can't do it. Like spaghetti squash, absolute nightmare. I feel like I'm on Fear Factor.
It's the visuals for me when I see that, and I've tried. I've had cooked several different ways. That's just not my jam. And that's one of my favorite things about being an adult is now that I know these things, I have not had to eat meatloaf. I have not cooked meatloaf. I've not made meatloaf.
Is
no. My husband loves meatloaf, and so when we go out to eat, if there's a place that has meatloaf, I'm like, get it. Because I'm not making it. I'm not no.
And I get it's the same as just a giant burger, but I feel like a giant burger is like a little easier than literally like a slab of meat bread.
I don't want
that's
meat
just
bread.
what I don't want the meat bread. No, thank you.
No, I can't. It's essentially the same thing, but it's just not enough that there's just when
I can't do it.
You put the egg in, and then you smush it, and then the thing, we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, no,
we don't.
Like
we've established it's a problem, and
no. So it's just it's so funny when like you realize, and I feel like with the current conversations about autism and the neurodivergency, I feel like we've taken so many steps forward of like normalizing it, and I'm not saying that like it's fun for everyone. I know that we are like, quote, I hate saying, we're like level 1 on the neurodivergency. I know that there are far more severe cases that are incredibly difficult to manage and stuff like that, but I also feel like we've taken a couple steps back and now we're villainizing it again.
Yes. Yeah. There's going back to my dad. Whenever I tried to talk to him about autism in general, he said, well, we just didn't have those type of things. We just didn't really, that wasn't around. And I just don't understand why it's around so much time. I said, it's because they stopped taking autistic people out in the woods and leaving them there. They stopped. Remember the Goonies? The kid in the
institutions.
Basement? Yeah.
We stopped putting them in institutions. Yeah. Lobotomies are now no longer a thing. You can't lock somebody away,
Yes, and we're getting, with the dissolvement, not to get too political, but with the disillusion of the special ed department as somebody who works in education. I'm very worried for the safety of our kids who have high support needs. The kids
Yes.
who, and I know that the adults as well, but because they still have high support needs. I genuinely worry about where we're going with that. Like you said, of that we've taken steps back and treated it like they did something wrong, or they took Tylenol. God, you'll do anything to villainize women and make it their fault that something wasn't what you expected. But it's just, I think we've gotten to the point where there's more support for in general, but it's also then, I don't know, it's,
and
it's just a hard
maybe
one.
there's
I don't have any
maybe
solution.
and like on the flip side, maybe we are still like villainizing the higher support needs and normalizing the level ones that can like function in society.
Mhm.
Like maybe us as a society still haven't quite wrapped our brains around people with higher support needs, that people that can walk and talk and socialize but can't necessarily like live on their own or balance their own bank account, like
Yeah.
things. Maybe we're still like a little almost like afraid of those people,
The
so like
ableism is still so
oh,
very, just
so
like,
bad.
even so, I live in Rochester, Minnesota, highly known for the Mayo Clinic. So you would think, living in a very medically minded, medically centric, I mean, the majority of not everyone, because like I'm not, but the majority of the people who live in this area work for Mayo in one way or the other. And yet there in lots of ways there are more accommodations here than there were in rural Oklahoma, where I used to live. But you'll just see whenever, like, the sidewalks, we have lots of wheelchair users in this city. And people will just block and barricade sidewalks willy-nilly, and without any thought of, like, how is a wheelchair user who takes this route every day, they can't get around this? I cannot tell you the number of times I pulled over, then I've got teenagers, so I'll pull over to the side of the road and say, hey, please go move, because there's the Lime bikes, and like the Lime scooters, and people, because when they die, they just die. And I know it's mostly probably, I give the benefit of the doubt that it's probably mostly youth, children who don't really know. But they hop out and drag that off of the sidewalk so that somebody can get by here. And because people just don't think about it. And people don't think about accessibility until
It
they
happens to
need it,
them.
until it's them. And they don't realize we're all one car crash away from being disabled. We're all one accident away.
Like, yeah. I mean, mine was literally, I had a clump of hair and cells turn into a dermoid cyst that landed in my back wrong. And at 19, permanently disabled because that decided to go haywire. So it's like, it happens so quickly. And I have this argument with people all the time about, because people are like, oh, well, this is accessible. No, it's not. It's accessible for you because you think it's accessible because you can get around it, and you would think that hypothetically someone could get around. You can't.
Mm-hmm. And if
Like,
if you can't get around it, it's because it's your fault because you didn't try hard enough to stay healthy. And you're like,
yeah, no. I mean, the case in point, the bride that was paralyzed from the neck down because her bridesmaid accidentally jumped on top of her in the pool. That one went national. Like, it's that quick.
yeah, it can happen to anyone at any time, anywhere. Life is fragile, and it's not
It's so fragile.
some bootstraps. You worked really hard, you tried really hard, and that's why you've earned your right as an able person. No, it is literally luck of the draw. But and that narrative does not serve the health and fitness industry. It does not serve the pharmaceutical industry. It does not serve people who make a lot of money off of pharmaceutical, just off of a lot of things. And we talk about, one of the conversations that people don't realize and don't think about is how disabled people can't always get married. Because
Ask me how I know, because I lost all of my services getting married and I'm still fighting to get them back. And I have been divorced since December, and it is end of October as of this recording.
and how are you supposed to live? How
And
are
we
you?
got legally, we only got legally married because he was military. And because the military doesn't recognize like domestic partners or anything now,
Right.
obviously because of the passage of, gay marriage equality with gay marriage, but like there's no marriage equality. Until disabled people can get married without losing their benefits, there's no such thing as marriage equality. I
This
will
is true.
die on that hill. I
Yeah.
will be the unpopular opinion in the hot take.
No, it's true.
Fucking fight
Because
me.
it's not
I don't
equal.
care.
It's because I have friends who they when you look at them, you think, okay, yeah, they're fine. They could do whatever, but they can't. They are disabled. They are sharing they're living in smaller spaces. They're doing what they can. And then SNAP benefits just got cut. How are they supposed to live? But they can't get married. They cannot get married because if they do, their
Then it gets cut even
combined
more.
Social Security is too much. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Like, oh,
my ex-husband made too much, and I'm like, last I checked, I wasn't magically cured getting married, and also it's not his financial responsibility to take care of me.
right?
There's a whole thing.
Yeah.
I could go on for decades about this one.
Yeah, no, this is a conversation that is going to be coming up in a later book that I have as well. Like,
I'm freaking ready, man.
Because it's the conversations, and if you're not close and if you're not around it, you don't know, because it's not something that our society prioritizes talking about, because it's uncomfortable. It's hard. It's scary to think. It's kind of like that magical thinking of like, if I don't talk about disability, it won't happen to me. That's not how it works.
Yeah, because I never mentioned it like a day in my life, and guess where I am?
Here we are.
I walk with a cane. I'm not going to exactly be hiking and running marathons. Not that I like to beforehand, but it's not exactly going to be a thing for me. But yeah, it's just crazy how like much we don't talk about things. And I think like to kind of circle back, I think books and authors are very important because those topics are finally being talked about. I'm starting to see like Ehlers-Danlos, like I'm starting to see that more represented. I'm starting to see chronic illnesses and like body dysmorphia and all of these other topics that we don't really talk about. It's I'm starting to see that. So it's starting to have these conversations, and that's why I think like books and authors are so important to starting those conversations as a whole.
Yeah, and lots of authors that I know are disabled themselves, and not the books that you're going to see on USA Today and the ones that kind of blow up on TikTok. Those typically do have more like standard sized, healthy, caring, whatever. But we're finding like you said, there's more representation from disabled characters and disabled authors sharing their experiences and those type of things. And the romance genre is we all want a happy ending. We all deserve a happy ending. So seeing us have a happy ending, like it shouldn't be revolutionary, but like you said, it kind of is.
Yeah. Sleigh Bell Springs.
Yeah.
What is that?
Spring.
Since we're on the topic of things that aren't really represented in books much.
Yes, some fun representation. So Sleigh Bell Springs is a project I am so proud to be part of. Author J.E. Joyce is kind of spearheading this for us, but there's a bunch of authors from all over the country. We are writing the opposite of a Hallmark Christmas story. So we were talking there. The conversation is, there's this little town in Vermont called Sleigh Bell Springs, and it's a tourist town, very Hallmarky. Everyone comes together on vacation. But what happens in that town all the months that are not Christmas? So, in January. So all of us authors have taken a month. It's in the same world. So very much interconnected, standalone. We're having overlap. We're having different characters popping up in each story. But this is very queer. So we've got lots of different representation, lots of white shoes, lots of different pairings. lots of different representation, and we're all writing different novellas for each month. And then at Christmas time, forward to the month of December, we're putting together an anthology, and then all the proceeds that go from that anthology are going to go to a queer charity that we as authors are voting on. I think she may put the poll up in the Discord the other day. That I missed it, but I'll have to go double check. I know we were talking about that. That's what we wanted to do. So mine isn't coming out until February next year, but they're so much fun. You can pre-order them now on Amazon. There's going to be print and ebook options. And so every month you'll get, when you find a new series and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. I love this character so much. I have to wait 3 years for this next book to come out. We're going to have one every single month, and they've got them planned all the way through 2027. So there's so much fun. I'm so excited for it. Some of my favorite authors that I like, Anthony Scott, Evie, James, my mind just went right. Gia Stevens is doing one too. J.E. Joyce, Cozy Dubois. Those just off the top of my head. There's tons. Everybody's writing a bunch of different stories. So it's a lot of fun. You can find us on Instagram. We made a special Instagram just for Sleigh Bell Springs. And that is on my link tree as well in my Instagram.
Beautiful.
But I'm so excited for it. Like as a reader and as a writer.
I'm really excited for this. Now, you had just launched a little author services kind of company thing with 2 other people. Can you tell us what it's called, what it's about, and what it does?
Yes. So we just launched Ashley Independent Services. Ashley Independent House is kind of our overall title, and we are offering author services. So when I sat down to write my books, I never thought about the content creation, the marketing, the newsletter creation, having to keep up with events, having to source events, there's so many things that come down to the business portion of being an author. I mean, I love to write. I want to sit down and I want to write my stories. And so as I've been going through this process, 2 of my really good friends who are incredible. So we've got Shay, who is a marketing genius. She is phenomenal. She's worked in marketing for over 5 years now in just some amazing campaigns that I can't say because like non-disclosure agreements, but she's going to be in charge of our social media marketing. She's got great plans for everybody that you can dive in, and we offer a 15-minute complimentary call if you are interested, but you're not really sure what you might need. So you can go to our website, ashleyindiehouse.com, and schedule a chat with us. And then my friend Elizabeth, she is an admin whiz. Like her brain is the most organized thing I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot even. I tell her what I have going on, and she just like boop, 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 and like puts it all in order. So she is offering admin services like email cleanup, helping put together forms. There are so many forms that go into being an author. Like I said, I just wanted to sit down and write my books. So that was my dream. And so a lot of that type of stuff she handles. So we're working all together. All of our services, everything is, our website is live. We are beginning services November 1st. Like we began services November 1st. So we are open for booking. You can schedule a call. We can see what we can do for you. If there's something that you are interested in that we don't have listed on our website, absolutely schedule a call. We would love to help. If we can't do it, we want to help you find somebody who is reputable, because we've also run into lots of people who their heart is in the right place. They just don't have the skills necessarily. I would never want to trash talk a PA or anything like that. But we interviewed over 100 authors to ask before we got started to talk to them about their experiences with PAs, their experiences with author service companies. And some of the stories just like broke my heart of people getting taken advantage of, people paying lots of money for content or for editing and getting nothing really back, or even worse, being ghosted. And so from those stories, we decided, no, we don't want people because we're open to all authors, indie authors in particular. It's really hard to go at it yourself and to be a one-person team. So we want to be on your team. We want to help you. I've published 2 books myself. I have more coming. And so I can kind of speak to that aspect of it, and they can handle all of the other things that I'm like, nah, they're my team.
Mm-hmm.
I can vouch for what they're able to do. So yeah, so it's ashleyindiehouse.com. And we want to help writers. Our goal is writers for writers. We are all writers. We want to take the things off of your plate so that you have more time to be creative.
I love that. Where can we find you?
I am primarily on Instagram. I don't actually have a personal website right now, so I'm at brittonashley.author on Instagram. And that's where I post. I'm on TikTok a little bit, but Instagram is the best place to find me.
Awesome. Well, Britton, thank you so much for the absolute amazing last hour of conversation. This has been so much fun. I cannot wait to finish these books now that I have brain power. Yeah, I 1000% check them out. Covered in You, Casual Sparks are out right now. You can find them pretty much anywhere you get books. They're also on Kindle Unlimited. So if you are a KU girly, you can absolutely find them there.
Yeah.
I am usually not a Kindle girl, but it's pretty easy to just scoop them. But yeah, so Britton, thank you again so much.
It was so wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. It's such a good